Ethan wiped the sweat from his forehead as he pushed aside an old rusted toolbox. The small garage smelled of oil, dust, and metal, a smell that never left no matter how many times he cleaned. His grandfather had once worked here every day, fixing cars for the whole neighborhood. After his passing, the garage had been left mostly untouched. Only Ethan came here now, using the place to work on broken engines and lost machines. The afternoon sun streamed in through the cracked windows, painting golden lines on the concrete floor. Ethan crouched low, trying to reach for a bolt that had rolled under a shelf. His hand brushed against something strange. It was cold, smoother than the metal around it. He pulled back the shelf and frowned. Behind it was not the rough wall he expected, but a flat silver surface. It looked like a door, but not the kind of door found in a garage. This one had no handle, no hinges. In the center was a panel covered in odd shapes, symbols he had never seen before. "What in the world?" Ethan whispered. His grandfather had always been a man of secrets. He had traveled during his youth, worked in places no one really talked about. Ethan remembered listening to stories as a child, about strange machines, about things that sounded too fantastic to be true. He had laughed back then, thinking they were just bedtime tales. But now, staring at this hidden door, Ethan wondered if his grandfather had been hiding something far greater than he had imagined. Curiosity burned inside him. He pressed his hand against the door. To his surprise, it moved slightly with a soft hiss, as if waiting to open. The panel lit up faintly, glowing blue. Ethan jumped back. "No way, this thing still works?" The mechanic inside him couldn't resist. He fetched a flashlight and leaned closer. The symbols glowed brighter the longer he looked. They weren't like any alphabet he knew, yet something about them felt organized. Not random scratches, but instructions. He pressed one of the glowing symbols. The panel beeped, and for a second he thought he had broken it. Then with a low rumble, the door slid open. Dust fell from the ceiling as hidden machinery groaned to life after who knew how many decades of silence. Ethan stared into the space beyond. It wasn't another room. It was an elevator. Not like the elevators in tall buildings, though. This one was built from smooth black metal with faint blue lines pulsing like veins across its walls. Inside there were no floor buttons, only a single round console with more glowing symbols. His heart raced. "Grandpa, what on earth were you hiding?" He hesitated. Logic told him to close the door, walk away, and maybe call someone who could explain this. But Ethan had never been the kind of person to ignore a puzzle. His hands itched to understand the machine, to see what it could do. He stepped inside. The air inside was cooler, carrying a faint hum as if the whole structure was alive. The floor vibrated gently beneath his boots. He touched the console. One of the symbols pulsed brighter as though recognizing him. "Don't be stupid," he muttered to himself. "You don't know what this is." But his fingers moved anyway, tracing the strange shapes. Some were triangles, others circles within circles. His mechanic's brain tried to map them into function: start, stop, power. He pulled out a small screwdriver from his pocket, one of his habits since he always carried tools. He gently pried open a side panel. Wires glimmered inside, unlike any wires he had seen before. They were thin, almost liquid, and shimmered with colors. Ethan couldn't help but grin. "You're beautiful," he whispered. The wires connected to a small node that was flickering weakly. It reminded him of an engine starved of fuel. Acting on instinct, he twisted the connector slightly, tightening its link. The flickering steadied. Lights all around the elevator brightened and the hum deepened. The machine came alive. Symbols raced across the console, glowing faster. A deep voice, not human, not machine, spoke in a language Ethan couldn't understand. The garage shook, and a low vibration spread through the ground. Panic flashed across his mind. "Oh no, what did I just do?" He tried to back out, but the door slid shut with a hiss, trapping him inside. The symbols rearranged themselves into a pattern, and suddenly one of them flared like fire. Ethan slammed his hand against the door, trying to open it, but it didn't respond. The voice spoke again, louder this time. He didn't understand the words, but he felt their weight. It was as if the elevator was announcing something, calling out across space. Then he felt it. A pull, not downward, not upward, but everywhere at once. His stomach flipped and the walls around him blurred. He shouted in fear, grabbing the console for balance. The garage outside was gone, replaced by swirling lights like stars rushing past. The ride lasted only seconds, but to Ethan it felt endless. His heart pounded as he gasped for breath. When the motion stopped, the door slid open again, but it did not open to his grandfather's garage. Ethan's eyes widened. Outside was a vast chamber of metal and glass. Strange lights floated in the air, glowing like fireflies. At the far end stood tall figures unlike anything he had ever seen. Their skin shimmered with colors that shifted like liquid metal. Their eyes glowed softly, fixed on him. The tallest among them stepped forward. Its voice was deep, layered with echoes, as if more than one being spoke at once. "The seal has been opened," it said. At last the humans rise. Ethan blinked. "Humans? Wait, what?" The beings bowed their heads slightly, as though greeting a long-awaited ruler. Ethan felt his knees weaken. I think you've got the wrong guy," he muttered. But the beings continued to stare, and behind them he could see movement. Rows of soldiers, weapons gleaming, ships docked in the distance. The entire place buzzed with energy and expectation, and it all seemed directed at him. He swallowed hard, his mechanic's hands trembling as he realized the truth. By fixing that one small connector, by waking this strange machine, he had done something far beyond repairing an engine. He had just turned on something that had been silent for generations. Something that had been waiting, and he had no idea what it meant. The figures began to chant softly in their strange tongue, and lights across the chamber pulsed in rhythm. Ethan took a step back, his heart pounding. He was only a mechanic, a man who fixed broken engines in a quiet garage. But now he was standing at the center of something far larger than himself, something that could change everything. Ethan stood frozen, his hands shaking as the tall alien figures stared at him. The chamber around him hummed with energy. Strange banners glowed on the walls, showing symbols he could not read. Ships rested in the distance, sleek and sharp, as if ready for war. Soldiers in shining armor lined the edges of the hall, each one holding a weapon that looked far too advanced for human eyes. The tallest alien stepped forward again. Its skin shimmered like silver liquid, shifting slightly with every movement. Its voice was heavy, filled with echoes. "The seal has been opened," it repeated. "The human sovereign has returned." Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it again. His mind was spinning. He was just a mechanic from Earth, not a leader, not a warrior. He fixed cars and old machines, nothing more. I think you've got the wrong guy," he said at last. His voice sounded small in the vast chamber. The alien tilted its head, the glowing eyes narrowing slightly. It looked at him with confusion, as though it could not understand why their chosen one would speak so plainly. Another alien stepped forward, shorter, but with sharper features. It carried a staff covered in glowing lines. "The sovereign does not deny the seal," it said. "The ancient war may begin again." Ethan's stomach dropped. "War? Begin again?" His hands tightened into fists. This was getting out of hand fast. "Listen," Ethan said nervously. "I don't know what this is about. I just found a machine in my grandfather's garage. I fixed a wire and then, boom, I ended up here. That's it. I'm not a sovereign, I'm not a leader. I'm just a mechanic." The aliens murmured to each other in their strange language. The sound echoed across the chamber like whispers carried by the wind. Ethan couldn't tell if they were laughing at him, angry or surprised. The tallest alien raised a hand and the murmurs stopped. "Humans speak strangely," it said. "Yet the seal does not lie. The one who awakens it holds the right of command." Ethan groaned. "Great, just great." Before he could argue further, a loud alarm rang out through the chamber. Red lights flashed along the walls. Soldiers tightened their grips on weapons. A voice echoed in their language, urgent and sharp. The tall alien turned sharply. "The rivals have heard the call," it said. "They come." Ethan's heart pounded. "Rivals? Rivals who?" But he didn't need an answer. Through the glass walls of the chamber, he saw it. Dark shapes appearing in the void of space outside. Ships, dozens of them, moving fast, their weapons glowing with energy. The shorter alien slammed its staff on the ground. "The Kraith fleet. They have come to claim the seal." The chamber erupted into action. Soldiers rushed into formation. Banners of light flared and sirens wailed. Ethan stood in the middle, completely lost as chaos unfolded around him. "This is insane," he muttered. "I don't even know what's going on." But the aliens weren't ignoring him. In fact, they were looking to him for direction. One soldier, his armor glowing with blue lines, ran up and bowed. "Sovereign, command us." "The Kraith will not wait," Ethan blinked. "Command you?" "I don't even know how your weapons work. I can barely keep my toolbox in order." The soldier only bowed lower. "We are yours to lead." Ethan's heart hammered. This wasn't just a misunderstanding anymore, it was dangerous. If he said the wrong thing, these soldiers might launch into a battle that would destroy everything. And if he did nothing, the enemy ships outside would fire anyway. He ran a hand through his messy hair and tried to think. "Okay, Ethan," he whispered to himself. "You fix machines, not wars. But maybe that's the only way to survive this." The chamber shook violently. The first blast from the Kraith ship struck the outer shields. The glowing walls flickered as sparks rained down. Soldiers shouted in alarm. The tall alien looked at Ethan with burning eyes. "Sovereign, what is your will?" Ethan's mouth went dry. He wanted to scream that he wasn't a sovereign, that they were all mistaken, but as another blast shook the chamber, he realized something. If he admitted the truth now, they might collapse into panic. And then Earth would be defenseless, so he swallowed his fear and forced himself to stand tall. "Defend yourselves," he said firmly. "Hold them back. Don't let them through." The aliens nodded at once as though the words carried great weight. The tall one raised its arm and barked an order in their language. The soldiers moved swiftly, forming lines as energy shields flickered to life. Ethan stepped back, watching in disbelief. He couldn't believe they had actually listened to him, but then things got worse. The Kraith ships outside fired again, stronger this time. A section of the shield broke and smaller enemy vessels slipped through, landing outside the chamber with a hiss of steam. The doors blew open and armored figures stormed in. They were taller than humans, with jagged armor that looked like sharp claws. Their eyes glowed red, and their voices were deep growls as they raised their weapons. The aliens defending Ethan clashed with them immediately. The chamber filled with noise, energy blasts, metal striking metal, shouts in alien tongues. Ethan ducked behind the console, his heart racing. "I should not be here," he whispered. "I should be back in the garage, fixing engines, drinking coffee, living a normal life." But fate had other plans. One of the Kraith soldiers spotted him. With a roar, it broke through the fighting and charged straight at him, weapon raised. Ethan froze. He had no training, no weapon, nothing but the screwdriver still in his pocket. His instincts took over. He pulled it out and held it tight. As the soldier lunged, Ethan ducked, swung the screwdriver upward, and hit a small glowing panel on the soldier's armor. Sparks flew. The soldier stumbled, its weapon short-circuiting. Ethan blinked in shock. Did I just do that?" The alien soldier snarled and reached for him again, but one of the silver-skinned defenders tackled it to the ground, finishing the fight. The defender looked at Ethan with awe. "The Sovereign fights with cunning." Ethan shook his head. "No, I was just lucky." But the words didn't matter. To them, he was not lucky, he was clever. He was the human who had awakened the seal and fought back with nothing but a tool. The battle raged on. Slowly, the defenders pushed the Kraith soldiers back toward the broken door. Ships outside retreated after heavy losses, leaving the chamber battered but still standing. When the last enemy fell, the hall went quiet, except for the hum of damaged machines. The defenders gathered around Ethan, their eyes glowing with admiration. The tall alien spoke. "The Kraith came swiftly, but you stood firm. The Sovereign has chosen the path of war." Ethan's chest tightened. "I didn't choose anything. I was just trying to stay alive." But they weren't listening. Already messages were being sent out across the galaxy. Beacons lit up, carrying the news. The humans had returned. The seal was active. The war had begun again. Ethan sank against the console, his head in his hands. He hadn't meant to start anything. He had only fixed a wire. But now, whole armies were moving, fleets were preparing, and planets would soon know the name of Earth. And all of it had started with him. Ethan sat on the cold metal floor, his back against the strange console that had brought him here. His hands were still shaking from the battle. The chamber smelled of smoke and burned metal, and sparks rained down from damaged lights above. Alien defenders moved quickly to repair what they could, but the air still carried the heavy silence that followed violence. He wanted to believe it was all a dream, that he would wake up in his grandfather's dusty garage, oil stains on his shirt, tools scattered around, and no glowing-eyed aliens chanting his name. But every sound, every breath reminded him that this was no dream. It was too real. The tall alien approached again. Its shimmering skin reflected the flickering lights as it bowed slightly. "Sovereign," it said, voice low but strong. The Kraith have tested us. You have proven that humans are not afraid. The Council will want to hear your words, Ethan groaned softly. Council? What council? The Galactic Council of Five, the alien replied. Rulers of the core worlds. They will expect the human sovereign to stand before them. Ethan rubbed his face with both hands. I'm not a sovereign. I'm just Ethan. I fix cars. I fix engines. That's all. I can't stand before a council of galactic rulers. But the alien's glowing eyes only studied him calmly. You are the one who awakened the seal. The galaxy does not question such things. The galaxy obeys. Ethan wanted to argue more, but deep inside he knew it would be useless. These beings weren't going to listen to his denial. To them, the elevator in his grandfather's garage was no ordinary machine. It was a sign, a key, maybe even a weapon. And the fact that he had activated it made him in their eyes the representative of all humanity. He sighed and muttered to himself, Grandpa, what did you drag me into? The journey to the council chamber took them through shining corridors of alien design. The walls pulsed faintly like living metal, and the floors glowed underfoot. Ethan followed the tall alien, surrounded by soldiers who treated him like a king. He felt uncomfortable with their bows and gestures of respect. He didn't deserve it. Back on Earth, he had been an ordinary man with oil on his hands and bills to pay. Here, he was something else, something he didn't want to be. As they walked, Ethan tried to understand his surroundings. He noticed small details. The way the lights were repaired, how the soldiers carried spare tools in their belts, how the machines connected like parts of an engine. His mechanic's mind kept working even while his nerves rattled. Finally, they reached a wide chamber where 5 towering figures waited. Each looked different shapes, colors, and sizes. One had crystalline skin that caught the light like a prism. Another looked almost plant-like, vines and leaves wrapping around a central core. The others were just as strange, each one unique in its form. This was the Galactic Council. The tall alien who had brought him bowed deeply. Honored Council, the human sovereign stands before you. Ethan froze. All 5 council members turned their glowing eyes toward him. He swallowed hard and forced himself to step forward. One of the counselors spoke, its voice like wind through glass. So it is true. The seal has been opened by a human hand. At last, Earth enters the war. Ethan raised his hands quickly. Wait, no. Earth didn't choose anything. I didn't choose anything. I didn't even know this. This seal existed. I was just fixing a machine in my garage. The counselors murmured among themselves. Their voices echoed like distant thunder. Another counselor leaned forward. This one had a voice like deep stone. Do you claim ignorance, human sovereign? Do you deny your right to rule? Ethan's chest tightened. He felt their eyes burning into him. If he said yes, if he denied it, would they see it as weakness? Would they abandon him? Or worse, would they attack Earth because they thought humans had insulted them? He took a deep breath. I don't understand your war. I don't understand your seal. But I do know this. I don't want my world destroyed because of some mistake. If I have to stand here and speak for Earth, then I'll do it. But I'm not a ruler. I'm not a soldier. I'm just someone who fixes what's broken. The chamber went silent. The crystalline counselor tilted its head. Fixes what is broken? Interesting. The plant-like one's vines shifted, curling slowly. Perhaps that is what the galaxy needs. Ethan blinked, confused. What? The tall alien beside him leaned close and whispered, They believe you. Ethan almost laughed at the absurdity of it all. He hadn't given a great speech. He had just spoken the truth, plain and simple. Yet somehow these powerful rulers were taking his words seriously. Over the next hours, Ethan was forced to listen to endless debates about the war. The Kraith Empire wanted control of the elevators, the network of ancient gates scattered across the galaxy. Whoever held them could move armies anywhere in moments. The Council worlds wanted to resist, but they had been losing ground for years. The seal he had awakened was one of those gates, one that had been hidden on Earth for generations. By opening it, Ethan had unknowingly revealed humanity's connection to the ancient system. To the Council, this made Earth important. To Ethan, it made Earth a target. He leaned forward, his voice firm. If you're expecting humans to fight your war for you, you'll be disappointed. Earth doesn't even know you exist yet. Our people aren't ready for this. The stone-voiced counselor replied, Then prepare them. The Kraith will not wait. Ethan clenched his fists. He didn't want this responsibility. But as much as he wanted to run, he couldn't. If he turned his back now, the war would still come and Earth would be unprepared. His mind spun with possibilities. He thought about tools, about machines. He thought about how humans solved problems with creativity, how they made do with whatever scraps they had. Maybe Earth didn't have war fleets or plasma weapons, but they had something the galaxy seemed to lack: stubbornness and imagination. An idea sparked inside him. "Maybe we can't fight like you," he said slowly, "but we can think differently. We can fix things others give up on. Maybe that's how we survive this." The council chamber fell silent again. The counselors studied him with unreadable expressions. At last, the crystalline one spoke. "Perhaps the human way will bring something new. We shall see." When the meeting ended, Ethan walked back through the glowing corridors, his thoughts heavy. Soldiers still bowed when they saw him, and whispers followed him everywhere. He muttered under his breath, "I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this. But if they're going to drag Earth into their war, then I don't have a choice." The tall alien walked beside him. "You are afraid," Ethan nodded. "Of course I'm afraid. But if I don't do something, Earth will be destroyed before it even knows what's happening." The alien's shimmering face softened. "Perhaps that fear will guide you. The galaxy has forgotten fear. It may be why we lose to the Kraith. But humans may remind us of it, and of courage too." Ethan didn't answer. He was too busy thinking about the weight now resting on his shoulders. He was a mechanic, not a leader. But somehow, in a galaxy at war, he had become humanity's first representative. And deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. Part 4. Humanity revealed. Ethan's heart was pounding as the metallic doors opened to the wide observation deck overlooking space. The alien city floated like a jewel in the void, massive structures reflecting the light of distant stars. Outside, ships of all shapes and sizes streaked through the darkness, some moving with a speed and grace that defied everything Ethan knew about physics. He had been warned that Earth would soon appear on the galactic stage. Yet nothing had prepared him for the sight of hundreds of alien ships maneuvering around the massive war station, each vessel poised for conflict, its energy weapons humming softly. "This is incredible," Ethan whispered to himself, unable to tear his eyes away. The tall alien who accompanied him, shimmering with silver light, looked down at him. "Incredible, yes, but dangerous as well. The Kraith will not wait. You must prove your species' value, human sovereign," Ethan groaned. "I didn't ask to be a sovereign. I'm just a mechanic. I don't know how to fight in space." The alien only raised one of its glowing arms. "You do not fight as we do. You survive in ways we have forgotten." Ethan frowned, uncertain. "Survive in what way?" Before the alien could answer, alarms rang across the station. Red lights flashed and a deep vibration shook the floor. Ethan's stomach sank as he realized what was happening. A Kraith fleet had entered the system and was attacking the station's defenses. The silver alien's voice was calm but commanding. "Prepare to engage. Observe and learn." Ethan followed the alien to a control room. Here, rows of consoles flashed with information about shields, weapon systems, and fleet movements. Aliens worked quickly, their hands moving over glowing panels, issuing orders in their complex language. Ethan felt completely out of place, yet a strange calm settled over him. He had worked with engines that seemed impossible to fix, machines that no one else could understand. Perhaps this was no different, a problem that needed clever thinking. The first wave of Kraith drones broke through the outer shields. Energy beams flashed across space and a section of the station rocked violently. The alien soldiers scrambled to respond, but something in Ethan's mind clicked. He leaned over a console and examined the weapon controls. He noticed small inconsistencies, wiring that was loose, energy conduits that were misaligned. With a few careful twists and adjustments, he rerouted power from damaged circuits to the defensive systems. "Try that," he said, pointing at a panel. A silver-armored soldier hesitated but followed his instructions. Suddenly, the defensive shields flickered and stabilized. The drone's first attack was deflected. The soldiers stared at him in astonishment. "The human fixes what is broken," one of them exclaimed. Ethan shrugged nervously. "I just pay attention. That's all." The battle intensified. The Kraith were relentless, their ships moving with precision and speed. Ethan could see through the observation deck as laser beams and missiles streaked across space. Yet each time the alien forces hesitated, he found a way to adjust, repair, or reroute power to give them an edge. He didn't use weapons like the soldiers. He didn't issue commands like a leader. Instead, he improvised, combining their alien technology with his knowledge of basic engineering and mechanics. A small energy conduit was leaking power near one of the main guns. Ethan grabbed a loose metal rod from a storage area, bent it, and jammed it into the gap. Sparks flew, but the gun fired perfectly the next moment. Another time, a damaged drone was about to crash into the station. Ethan quickly attached a small thruster from a supply panel to redirect it. To everyone else, it looked like magic. To him, it was simple problem-solving. The alien defenders began to whisper among themselves. Humans, strange but effective. They think differently. They improvise. Ethan didn't realize it, but he had begun to change how the aliens viewed humanity. Until now, humans had been considered primitive, fragile, and insignificant. But here was one, a single human standing in the middle of chaos and making a difference without weapons. Without armies, without years of training. He worked tirelessly, hands moving over panels, wires, and screens. Sweat poured down his face, his shirt sticking to his back. He had no idea how long he had been at it. Minutes, hours, maybe even longer. Time had lost its meaning in the heat of battle. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Kraith retreated. Their ships fled through the darkness, leaving the station battered but intact. The alien soldiers cheered and swarmed around Ethan, lifting him off the ground in a gesture of honor. Ethan gasped. Wait, I didn't do that alone. I didn't, but they didn't listen. To them, the human had saved the station, and in their eyes, humans were no longer weak. They were clever, resilient, and unpredictable, a force that could tip the balance of the war. Later, in the quiet of the repaired control room, Ethan sat alone, breathing heavily. His hands were black with grime from wires and panels, and his uniform was scorched in places. He looked out at the stars, trying to comprehend what had just happened. A soft voice broke his thoughts. You were remarkable. Ethan turned to see the tall silver alien standing nearby, its glow dimmed in a more relaxed way. Remarkable? He asked. Yes, it said simply. You acted without fear. You solved problems that even our engineers could not. You are not like the others. You are human. Ethan laughed weakly. I'm just a mechanic. I fix things. That's all. The alien shook its head. No, you do not understand. Your people have something the galaxy has forgotten. Creativity, adaptability, courage in the face of uncertainty. These are the strengths of your species. Today you have revealed humanity to the galaxy. Ethan's chest tightened. He had never thought of himself or humans as special. Back on Earth, people laughed at his fascination with old machines, called him stubborn, or said he wasted his time tinkering. And yet here he was, standing on a station above the stars, showing aliens that humans were more than they seemed. It was a strange and humbling feeling. The tall alien led him to a holographic table. A glowing map of the galaxy appeared, showing fleets, planets, and the locations of ancient elevators like the one Ethan had activated. You must understand, the alien said. Pointing at the map, the Kraith seek these gates to control the galaxy. Your people have unknowingly become central to this conflict. Without your intervention, Earth would have been a target, unprepared and vulnerable. Ethan rubbed his eyes. So what now? What do I do? The alien's voice was calm but firm. You teach us what humans can do. You show us your ways of thinking. You help us prepare not as a warrior but as a problem solver, as a guide. Your species' strengths are hidden even from itself. It is time to reveal them. Ethan felt a surge of determination. He didn't want to be a ruler, a soldier, or a hero. But if he could protect Earth, if he could show the galaxy what humans were capable of, he would. And for the first time he realized that maybe, just maybe, his ordinary skills could change extraordinary things. Over the next few days, Ethan worked closely with the alien engineers and strategists. He fixed machines no one else could repair, suggested clever ways to combine human ingenuity with alien technology, and devised simple yet effective tactics to strengthen the station's defenses. He even taught them a few human tricks, like using basic tools in creative ways, duct tape, spare rods, small mechanical devices, to solve problems that seemed impossible. The aliens were amazed. They think differently, one said. We fight by rules, by protocol. Humans see opportunity where we see obstacles. Ethan smiled quietly. That's what humans do. The reputation of humans spread quickly across the station. Reports were sent to neighboring planets and whispers began to travel throughout the galaxy. Humans are unpredictable. Humans are clever. Humans are not to be underestimated. And Ethan, a simple mechanic from a quiet garage on Earth, had become the symbol of this revelation. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt tired, overwhelmed, and a little scared. But he also felt proud of his species and proud that in some small way, humans were finally being recognized for what they truly were. For the first time in his life, Ethan understood that humans were special, not because of strength or weapons, but because of their ability to survive, to adapt, and to think beyond the ordinary, and the galaxy was about to learn it the hard way. Ethan stood at the edge of the station's observation deck, staring out at the vastness of space. Below, ships from countless alien races prepared for the coming battle. The Kraith fleet had returned, larger and more organized than before, their glowing weapons casting sharp streaks of light across the darkness. Ethan's stomach twisted with anxiety. He had come a long way from his grandfather's garage, from the small dusty world of Earth. Yet, despite all the alien technology, ships, and warriors, one truth remained. The galaxy underestimated humans, and that was the advantage he intended to use. The Council had agreed to follow Ethan's strategy, though they were skeptical. They had watched him in the previous skirmishes, repairing machines and devising clever solutions, and slowly began to trust his judgment. Ethan wasn't leading with force, not with overwhelming firepower, but with creativity, human ingenuity. He gathered a team of alien engineers, strategists, and soldiers around him. "Listen," he said, hands moving over a holographic map. "The Kraith expect us to fight like them. Heavy ships, rigid formations, brute force. That's what they understand. But humans, we don't always fight like that. We improvise. We find weaknesses where others see strength. That's how we win." The counselors exchanged skeptical glances. One of them, with crystalline skin, asked, "And how does a human propose to lead a galactic fleet?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Not lead it, guide it. Show you what humans can do. You follow the rules, the Kraith expect that. I'll show you the spaces they won't cover, the tricks they won't anticipate, and the mistakes they'll make." A younger alien soldier asked hesitantly, "And what if it fails?" Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we fail. But at least we'll fail smart, not blind." The next day, the Kraith fleet arrived in full force. Thousands of ships moved like a storm through the void, each one armed to obliterate anything in its path. The Council's fleet formed a traditional defensive line, bristling with weapons. The Kraith assumed Earth's defenders would act predictably. Ethan took a deep breath. He had studied the fleet, examined the patterns, and noticed something that no alien had considered: a weak point in the formation. The Kraith assumed every defender would react the same way, in the same predictable lines, and that assumption could be exploited. "Here's what we do," he said. "We pretend to fall back, make them think we're panicking. But we've set traps, small mines, decoy drones, hidden channels they won't notice. Then when they take the bait, we hit them from unexpected directions." The counselors nodded reluctantly. There was a tension in the room, but they followed his orders. The battle began. Kraith ships surged forward, expecting an easy victory. The Council's fleet appeared to retreat, just as Ethan had predicted. The Kraith pursued, confident in their superiority. Then Ethan gave the signal. Hidden drones emerged from seemingly empty space, releasing energy pulses that disabled the Kraith shields. Mines exploded near the enemy ship's engines, throwing them off balance. The Council's fleet struck from unexpected angles, catching the Kraith off guard. Ethan moved quickly through the control room, repairing damaged systems, redirecting power, and even improvising new defenses on the spot. A loose rod here, a temporary bridge of wires there, and suddenly ships that should have been destroyed stayed operational. The Kraith officers shouted in confusion. "How is this possible? The humans, what is happening?" Ethan's grin widened. He didn't have advanced weapons or years of training. He had creativity, observation, and the ability to see patterns others missed. That was enough. Hours passed in a blur of motion. Ships collided, energy beams tore through space, and alarms rang constantly. Yet slowly the tide began to turn. The Kraith fleet, despite its size and power, struggled against the unpredictable tactics of Ethan and the Council's combined forces. One of the counselors, the plant-like one, floated near him and whispered, "You are not like any being I have seen. Your species adapts." Ethan shrugged. "We have to. On Earth, you learn to fix things with whatever you have. If it breaks, you make it work. That's all I'm doing here." The crystalline counselor nodded. Perhaps the galaxy underestimated humans for too long. Ethan's focus never wavered. He directed ships, patched systems, and found clever ways to use the station itself as a weapon. Energy conduits were rerouted to create temporary force fields. Damaged drones were converted into decoy ships. Even the Kraith sensors were fooled by simple patterns of lights and motion. Every move was unpredictable, and every move worked. As the final wave of the Kraith fleet approached, Ethan noticed something critical. Their flagship, larger and more powerful than the rest, was leading the attack in a predictable arc. He leaned over the console and pointed at the map. "That's it," he said to the Council. "We don't need to destroy every ship. Just the flagship. Take it down and the rest will scatter. I found a weakness in their energy core. It's exposed when they accelerate in formation." The counselors nodded, understanding the plan. Every weapon system on the station and allied ships focused on the target. Missiles, energy beams, and laser arrays converged on the flagship. Ethan watched carefully, making minor adjustments, rerouting power where needed. Finally, with a blinding flash, the flagship's core exploded. The Kraith formation broke apart instantly. Ships scattered in panic, some fleeing, others surrendering. Ethan let out a long breath. He had done it. The aftermath was quiet but powerful. The Council's fleet gathered around the station cheering, but all eyes returned to Ethan. He had not only helped defend the station, but also proved that humans were a species not to be ignored. The tall silver alien approached him. "You have shown the galaxy what humans are capable of. Not strength, not weapons, not armies. Ingenuity, adaptability, courage. You have changed everything." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't do this for glory, I just didn't want Earth to be destroyed." The alien's glow brightened. "And in protecting your world, you have given the galaxy a new perspective. Humans will no longer be overlooked." Ethan smiled faintly, exhausted but proud. He thought of his grandfather's garage, of the dusty old elevator, of the simple life he had once known. He had never imagined that a small act, fixing a wire, tinkering with a machine, could lead to this. Weeks later, the galaxy began to recognize humanity. Other species sent emissaries to Earth, curious and cautious. Reports spread of the human who had stood against the Kraith, not with massive fleets or weapons, but with cleverness and determination. Humans became symbols of unpredictability and creativity. Ethan returned to his grandfather's garage, finally able to step through the elevator once more. It hummed softly, waiting. He ran his hand over the familiar panels, remembering the journey that had begun with a simple act of curiosity. He smiled. "Not bad for a mechanic," he muttered. Yet he knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen the potential of humanity, and there would be challenges ahead. But for the first time, he felt proud of what humans could do, not because of strength, but because of their mind, their heart, and their spirit. Ethan looked out at the stars, the elevator glowing faintly behind him. It was no longer just a machine. It was a reminder of how one ordinary human, armed with curiosity and determination, had changed the course of galactic history. And as he watched, he realized something profound. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long, and now nothing would ever be the same. For the first time, humanity had truly arrived among the stars.